Parasyte is true horror. In the last part, we ended with Shinichi's parents going on a road trip where his mom had unfortunately met a terrible fate, and Shinichi has no idea yet. Back at home, Shinichi has just finished up a cup of ramen and Migi is commenting on how unbalanced his diet is. Just the other day, his mom had made him a very nutritionally balanced meal, but Shinichi's like, alright bro, once they're home tomorrow, I'll be eating like that again, so don't even worry about it. But suddenly, he gets a call from a public phone number. He picks up and hears his dad call his name, telling him that his mom is, but struggling to breathe, he just cuts himself off. Shinichi is starting to get worried, asking what happened, as his pops just says, Nobugo is, but he can't bring himself to finish. With the last of his strength, he tells Shinichi that he's gonna go to the police, and he will find that monster. And as he falls down, the line ends. Shinichi is on the other end of it, screaming for a response, but he's met with silence, completely being left out as to what's going on. Over the night, he's having these dreams and memories of his parents' trip. They decided to be carefree and choose wherever they stopped as they went. And he's thinking about what his dad told him, as the worry about his parents only grow with time. When he wakes up, he still hasn't gotten another call. He's been restless all night, only half asleep, waiting to hear back from them, but it's been nothing so far. He doesn't know where they went since they didn't even know where they were going, and in the middle of his worrying, Migi tells him that he needs some rest. But Shinichi, starting to think about Migi, is getting upset because he knows that a parasite had to do something to them. After all, his pops did say that monster. Suddenly, Migi locks in, sensing one of his kind approaching. Shinichi is still upset because he didn't want his parents to go in the first place. Migi was the one who told him it was safe for his parents to go out there, but Migi corrects him real quick, saying that he never ensured that they would be safe. He only claimed that the probability of running into a parasite would be lower because there are fewer humans out there. It just makes sense. But regardless, they gotta stay focused on this upcoming fight. Shinichi goes to grab a weapon, but Migi tells him don't even worry about it. He just needs to calm himself down and focus mentally. Migi plans on ending the fight before this other parasite even has a chance to decide if they're friendly or not. But Shinichi insists on grabbing this weapon, claiming that he's full of hatred right now. This parasite stops at the front door, and as they walk towards it, they hear the door unlock. It's strange for them to have a key instead of just breaking the door down by force in order to get to Migi, but walking up the hallway is his mother. Shinichi's face and body instantly relax as he calls out, "Mom," but she doesn't respond. She only says, the man hasn't returned yet? That's no good. Shinichi keeps calling out, Mom, I'm glad that you returned safely. But she replies, what's wrong? Why did you take over the hand? She's completely ignoring Shinichi, only talking to Migi, but he's still trying to talk to her. Like, oh, my hand, it's weird, right? I wanted to tell you earlier, but I thought you would freak out. Migi is trying to talk to him, but Shinichi screams at him, telling him to shut up. The parasite says it'll have to go back and confirm that the man is dead, as once again, Shinichi tries talking to it. Mom, isn't it weird that my right hand is talking like this? But still, she has no reaction. Shinichi begs for some type of response, telling her to stop playing around, but Migi tells him to snap out of it. His mother is, but Shinichi cuts him off again, saying that if he keeps talking, he'll cut him clean off. Shinichi looks at the scar on his mother's hand, reminding her of how guilty it always made him feel whenever he saw it. Every single day, he just wanted to cry and apologize over and over. But staring at him, dead in the eye, his mother's head transforms and stabs him right through the chest. As once again, he just calls out for his mom. Shinichi drops his knife and falls to the floor. The other parasite tells Migi that his human host died the instant she pierced his heart, and Migi will follow in a few minutes. This was just his fate because he failed to take over the head. As she leaves, Migi understands that a direct hit to Shinichi's heart can't just be patched up in a couple minutes. If he doesn't act quickly, Shinichi's brain will die and Migi will go alongside him. He concludes that his only option is to merge with Shinichi's heart. The parasite that took over Shinichi's mom seemed to have relocated her body just fine, but Migi knows that what he's about to do is far more risky. As he merges, he begins to pump Shinichi's blood for him, as Shinichi, coughing, shows some signs of life. While maintaining the heartbeat, Migi has to get cells from other places in his body to patch up the wound, and at the same time, he'll slowly return to Shinichi's right hand through the bloodstream. Over at Shinichi's school, Tachikawa and Murano are talking about his absence. It's been a few days since he's shown up, as Murano says that she'll stop by to check on him since she already knows where he stays. Back there at home, it's been a few days and Shinichi is still lying on the ground. Migi's looking through the kitchen, grabbing some sugar and water in order to help his body sustain itself. Later that day, Shinichi finally wakes up to a phone call. He lifts his body off the ground, and just looking at his face, he seems completely different. Almost as if he's aged a rough 5 to 10 years since he was last awake. He grabs his glasses and puts them on out of reflex. When we see his point of view, his vision is blurry. Oddly enough, when he takes them off, it returns right back to normal. When he gets to the bathroom, he's struggling to come to terms with what's happened. He takes his shirt off and can see the patched hole in his chest, wondering if Migi was the one who had healed him. Thinking about his mother, he just falls to the ground, distraught at the fact that what just happened wasn't just a nightmare. The phone rings again, and as he picks it up, it's the receptionist at the hospital letting him know that his pops was injured. They've been trying to get in contact with him, but they just want to let him know that his life isn't in danger. He's just asleep right now. Instantly, Shinichi says he's on his way. As he steps outside, it just so happens to be the time that Murano came to check on him. She explains that she came because he hadn't been to school in a few days. She knows that his parents had went on some type of trip, and she was worried that he might have gotten sick and was all at home alone. After a pause, Shinichi tells her that his father was injured while on the trip. And as he starts making his way on, she's like, "Oh, then your mother must be dealing with it all by herself." He freezes, but just replies saying that he won't be back at school for a little while. And as he walks off, she calls his name, asking if he'll return. You could tell he tries his best to put this faint smile on, and without a word, he turns around as instantly his mind goes to that monster that took over his mother. While on the ferry, he figures that she must have looked up their address in order to come and finish his father off. Since she went out of her way to do all that, he's sure that eventually she'll figure out which hospital he's in order to finish the job. Feeling rushed, he knows that he has to hurry. But the girl sitting next to him interrupts, asking if he's okay. It seems like he's dealing with something. Seeing that she's got this high school uniform on, he asks her if she's from Sakurazaki, which is the place where the hospital is at. As she says that she is, she agrees to take him over to the hospital whenever they land. Over at the hospital, Shinichi's dad is being interviewed by the police. According to his story, his wife was murdered a few days ago. He asked him if her body's been found yet, but the detective tells him that his wife is still alive. On the very same day that he fell into the sea, which is how he got all these injuries, his wife, between 9 and 10 p.m., returned to the hotel alone. She spoke to the front desk staff, explaining that he had to leave because of some urgent business and she was just gonna stay for the rest of the night. And the next morning, she checked out. Pops can't believe it because he saw what he saw. He says that it has to be an imposter, but the staff pointed out that they saw the burn mark on her right hand. It had to be her. The doctor chimes in saying that he must be in some type of deep psychological shock. The reality that he saw before he fell into the sea was really just a nightmare, but Pops is still sure it was all real. Outside, Shinichi finally makes it there. As running towards his Pop's room, he runs past the detective, and finally they reunite. But Pops just says, "I'm sorry for making you worry." Shinichi is just trying to talk about his mom, but he can't get the words out. He's in too much pain. Pops just says that Shinichi's mom was caught up in some type of accident and they can't figure out where she is. But Shinichi knows that's a lie. He starts going back and forth with them, saying that he must have seen what happened. He saw the monster kill her and take over her body. But Pops just says he can't believe that he said such nonsense while on the phone. Looking down, he apologizes to Shinichi over and over, as Shinichi can't believe that his dad really thinks it was all just a dream. He tries to tell him about his mom and the monster, but Pops interrupts, begging him to stop. He just can't bring himself to talk about it right now. Looking at his Pops, deep down, he knows that his wife is dead. So for the sake of his feelings, Shinichi just drops it. Originally, he was going to stay with his Pops in the hospital, but he tells him to stay at a hotel nearby so he can get some proper rest. When Shinichi went up to the receptionist to ask where the hotel was, she says it's about 300 meters away. Not too far of a walk, but Shinichi knows that that's at the very edge of Migi's ability to detect other parasites. If they only detect her the second that she shows up, they'll be too late. He looks around for a little bit and finds this inn right behind the hospital. And as he goes inside, it's the family inn of the girl who had helped him earlier. She settles him into his room, and looking at the hospital, he knows that eventually he'll have to tell his Pops everything. But also, he needs Migi to cooperate. For now, his only focus is to keep his Pops alive and avenge his mother. Suddenly, he hears the girl walking upstairs. She had come to his door to tell him that his meal was ready in the dining room. Shinichi can tell that his hearing had improved. Later that night, Migi is having a conversation with Shinichi, telling him about the other day. When he had repaired the damage to his heart, Migi had also changed. He explains that now he has a weakness that other parasites don't have. For 4 hours every single day, he has to be in a deep sleep. Not the usual light sleep like he normally does, but a sleep where he won't be able to detect anything as he could before. If an enemy were to appear during those 4 hours, it'd be the end of the both of them. The next morning, after getting some rest, the girl can tell that Shinichi is looking a lot better than yesterday after washing up. Seems like he's back to normal. As he makes his way to the hospital, he chats with his pops for a little bit and decides to sit out front. Since Migi has to sleep for 4 hours every day, he'll use his own eyes and ears to scout the entrance in order to keep his pops safe. Showing up right in front of him, we finally get this girl's name, Makiko, or Maki for short. She sits down next to him, asking if he's here because of his dad, and he just explains that yeah, he's real worried about him. Nervously, Maki asks Shinichi if he has a girlfriend. To Shinichi, this is out of nowhere. He's completely shocked. But before he gets a chance to respond, Migi interrupts, telling Shinichi that they have company. About 300 meters away, towards the beach, he can sense a parasite. Completely ignoring her question, he asks Maki where the beach is, and as she points him in the right direction, he instantly takes off. She tries to warn him about this wall that'll block him in that direction, but he's running too fast, she can't tell him in time. He's sprinted down there as Migi asks Shinichi one last thing before they confront her. He wants to know if he can actually kill her. Stopping at the wall and thinking about his mother before and then after the incident, he says that he has to. Just thinking about her killer walking around free makes his blood boil. Finally, Maki catches up, telling him that he'll have to circle around the wall in order to make it to the beach. But Shinichi just jumps straight up to the top of the wall. He sees her walking down the stairs and sprints right after her. Migi had noticed something and is trying to tell him, but Shinichi is way too locked into the moment. He's absolutely pissed, running with nothing but rage and hatred in his eyes, intent on getting revenge for his mother. But as he jumps over the ledge, landing on the stairs, we see it's not her. As Migi transforms into blades, they realize that this has to be a parasite, but it turns out that the man still has his human brain. Bursting out from the bottom half of his face is another parasite. Like, this is real interesting, ain't it? It only took over the right hand. Shocked, Shinichi falls back as the man competes to talk with his own parasite. Both he and Shinichi are half human, half parasite, as we get some backstory on this random dude. It turns out that his wife left him, and when he was about to end it all, he says that he didn't have the guts to do it. Sitting at the edge of this cliff, looking at the sunset, a parasite breaks out of his shell. He just so happened to turn around the second that it was locking onto him, as he tries to get it to go away, but it coils up and shoots directly at him. It goes in right through his neck, and as he struggles, he falls into the sea. While he's trying to tell his story, the parasite interrupts, saying that when it tried to take over the brain, the host had suddenly stopped breathing. So to prevent its own life from ending, it completely disregards the objective and just settles and matures wherever it was at in order to shoot up for oxygen so they both don't die. That's how it ended up taking over only the lower half of his face. This man has to communicate through pen and paper, as the parasite agrees to speak out of his chin rather than his mouth. Though it doesn't like doing that because it gets to be less expressive. He's got his own personality and clearly is different than Migi. While Migi and Shinichi came to a much more coexistent relationship, these two over here are fighting back and forth much more constantly. This dude is named Uda, and he's relieved to see that there are other people just like him. Shinichi agrees to go tell his backstory, but he wants to go closer to the hospital. After he breaks down everything, Uda starts crying, saying that he doesn't think that he could bear such a tragedy. Even the parasite is complaining about this guy crying so much, saying that he just can't understand it. As Migi's like, yeah, sometimes I feel the same way. This parasite is called Parasyte, and obviously Migi is called Migi. He ended up learning his English through books and scientific articles like we saw at the beginning of the series, while Parasyte had learned his human speech through TVs and movies, pointing out how Uda loves to cry at movies as well. It points out how strange of a human trait crying is, as Uda ends up agreeing to help Shinichi out. After hearing his story and meeting somebody else like him, he wants to do everything that he can. Turns out that Uda works at a hotel nearby, so if they find anybody that they suspect to be his enemy, he'll let Shinichi know. Once again, he starts crying, and even Shinichi is like, damn bruh, this dude cries all the time. but at the very least, he's glad that he met somebody else in the same boat. Later, in the middle of the night, Migi wakes Shinichi up saying that he's got something important to tell him. He had tried to point it out earlier before they ran into Uda, but Shinichi wasn't trying to hear it. Migi goes into a demonstration. He splits himself from his main body, saying that if he splits into two, both versions of him are capable of independent thought and speech. And after splitting into fragments that are too small, the intelligence increasingly goes down until eventually they can't survive on their own. The only way that he can do this and still survive without losing a part of himself is by giving a command to each copy: return to the main body as one. Shinichi doesn't know where Migi's trying to go with this, but I mean, it's a cool demonstration, I guess. But Migi ties it all back together by pointing out that even the smallest of fragments can survive as long as they have a bloodstream to feed off of, that being somewhere in Shinichi's body. He explains that the Migi that he sees right now is only about 70% of his original self. After merging with Shinichi in order to heal his heart, Migi lost 30% of his cells through fragments scattered throughout Shinichi's body. And since they're so small, he can no longer communicate with them to bring them back all as one. These cells are the reason that Shinichi has been able to run at Olympic level speeds and jump over 10 feet high. Shinichi asks Migi if it's possible that those cells may have infiltrated Shinichi's brain, but Migi isn't sure. He doesn't know if they're strong enough in order to do so. Shinichi wonders if he's going through more changes than just physical ones, as he recalls the first time when he saw his father back at the hospital. Inside, it had felt like he was going to explode from all the emotions, but still, he didn't cry. Seeing Uda cry and constantly hearing about crying from the Parasyte and from Migi and even from himself, it makes him unsure if something deep down is really wrong. The next day, he's just chilling when Maki pulls up on him and he asks her if she thinks he looks like a normal human being. She's like, yeah, you look normal to me. Why? But Shinichi doesn't respond. She gets fed up with him being so mysterious and not telling her anything, saying that sometimes he has this terrible look across his face, almost as if he's crying on the inside. Honestly, she worries about him. But she suddenly apologizes and gets embarrassed that she said that as she runs off. Suddenly, he gets a call from Oda saying that they found her. And as we go look at him, she's approaching them. Shinichi tells him to stay on the run. They're not going to be able to talk to her like he did with Shinichi. She's going to try and kill him as soon as possible, as Oda tells him where he's going to relocate. Shinichi starts sprinting over there as Migi says he can sense Uda, so they must be getting close. Over with Uda, the Parasyte wants to make a run for it. It knows that physically, Uda can't compare to this beast over here. She's able to use the maximum potential of her human body, but since Parasyte only takes up the lower half of Uda's mouth, physically they're inferior. But Uda isn't going to abandon Shinichi like that. He wants to regroup with them and fight her together. They decide to run through the forest to put some more distance between the two of them, as back with Shinichi, while he's running towards Uda, Migi tells him that he's tired. He can't stay up any longer. Shinichi can't believe that Migi is falling asleep at a time like this, as Migi transforms into a blade, saying that at the very least, he might be able to defend himself. Just to be safe, Migi tells him do not go into combat without him. But we know Shinichi isn't going to leave Uda to fight her by himself, and like he said, he can never run from his mother's killer. Over with Uda, they make it to the edge of this cliff, shockingly similar to the cliff that we seen back in Uda's flashback, when Shinichi's mom pulls up on them. She sees them as a hindrance and instantly transforms into blades ready to kill. Parasyte and her instantly start going at it. I feel bad for Uda, bruh. He's probably in the worst position possible. He can't even see none of the action that's going on because his head has to tilt back in order to let Parasyte fight somewhat freely. As he falls to the ground, she says that the fight is over, as she sends a couple more attacks and eventually pierces through, stabbing Oda right where she stabs Shinichi in the heart, as he falls off that very same cliff that he was too afraid of beforehand. Parasyte just shrivels up, as sensing a faint signal behind her, she turns around, surprised to see somebody else approaching. Sensing this wavelength, it has to be a Parasyte, but the signal that she senses is extremely weak. Walking up is of course Shinichi, as she's confused because she knows that she killed him. She's going through her thought process and thinks that she should have just severed his head just to be safe. And hearing her talk, Shinichi just says it's too cruel. He has to hear his mother talk like this in her exact voice. As she transforms, this is much better for Shinichi, as a monster should look the part. As she attacks swiftly, Shinichi is able to dodge and jumps behind her. In comparison to that time when he fought A, it's night and day. no rhyme intended. He can see the moves that she's making as the individual blades morph through each attack. She can't believe that Shinichi is really holding his own against her. He sees Uda dead on the ground over there and gets even more pissed off because Uda was the only person who could understand his pain. He rushes in, deflecting an attack, and slices her on her side, but the cut wasn't good enough. Shinichi knows that he has to aim for the neck. He throws himself at her, saying that he will kill her, as this monster just says he can't be human. Shinichi's thinking about his mom and vows that he'll avenge her right here, right now. In a final desperate attempt before his finishing move, she raises her arm. She was trying to prevent a physical attack, but Shinichi just sees the burn mark and thinks about their entire history, hesitating. She sneaks in an attack to his head and lifts herself back up off the ground. And since Shinichi was knocked off balance, she's finally in a position to finish him off. But suddenly, as it gets cut up in a handful of ways, we see Parasyte and Uda. He thought that it would be too cruel for him to have to finish her off. It turns out that Parasyte could pretty easily read her attack patterns. Every shot she took was consistently aimed for the heart. All he had to do was shift the position of Uda's heart and vital organs so she only attacked straight flesh. As finally, the monster that killed Shinichi's mother shrivels up and dies. Back at the inn, Shinichi is making his leave, as Migi agrees to walk him over to the hospital. They make it there and she says that someday he should come back and do some sightseeing. While Shinichi isn't really sure, saying that he doesn't really want to come back here, it's not exactly the fondest of memories, she insists that it doesn't have to be soon. And he says one day, maybe he will. As he walks into the hospital, silently, she waves her goodbye. With Pops being discharged, he has one thing that he wants to tell Shinichi while looking at the sunset. That same sunset that he came up here to watch with his wife. He tells Shinichi that up until the very end, and even now, his mom still loves him. And he loves the both of them as well. Shinichi can't even make eye contact. He just nods and asks his Pops a question. He wants to know if Mom had suffered at all. And Pops just simply says no. Everything happened extremely fast. Hearing that, and due to the exhaustion of what's been happening for the past few days, on the spot, Shinichi passes out, falling to the ground. A few days later, we see Kana, and she's immediately sensing Shinichi nearby. Both her and Murano are excited to see that Shinichi is back, and as we get a look at him, we see him with this brand new haircut. Finally, he's home. Elsewhere, we see a familiar face. Tamiya Ryoko is talking with another parasite. She asks him to observe somebody without killing them. While this person can be quite dangerous, according to Tamiya, he's very important to their future as a species. The other parasite takes the mission to keep an eye on and observe Shinichi. Outside of Kana's high school, Mitsuo is just chilling there when she pulls up and he sees Shinichi on her phone. She's got this weird type of obsession with him. I don't know what she's got going on, but Mitsuo is clearly jealous because Kana has taken a liking to him. He tries to ask her about it and low-key press her, but she just runs off. The next time we see Mitsuo, he's outside Shinichi's school. I'm just not realizing that this dude has to be out of high school already, bro. This a grown-ass man. I don't know. He do look a little older. I don't know what he got going on. He calls out to some people that he's looking for Shinichi. And when Shinichi pulls up, even Mitsuo can tell that he's got this whole new vibe about him, this whole new aura. Mitsuo takes him out to that same alley where they beat on him in the first place, as Shinichi is just asking him to keep it quick. He don't got time for this. Mitsuo straight up asked Shinichi if he slept with Kana. And he didn't even say it as politely or respectfully as that. He's like, yo, you bang Kana? You bang her? Like, who talks like that, bro? Did you bang Kana? What? Shinichi didn't even realize this is what all this was about, as he just says no. He actually just got back in town not too long ago. He tries walking off, saying that it's whatever, but Mitsuo grabs him, trying to start a fight. This one gotta be out of pure embarrassment. He already said he's not sleeping with Kana. Clearly, he's jealous and they're not even dating, so really, it's for no reason. But Shinichi easily trips Mitsuo and pushes him to the ground, warning him that this fight isn't going to be the same as last time. As Mitsuo continues to try and attack him, Shinichi is dodging each hit, as finally stopping the kick and pushing him to the ground. He's like, bro, is you okay? Why are we doing this? Out of nowhere, Murano pulls up, out of breath, sprinting here after she heard that somebody came looking for Shinichi at the gate. But clearly, he's doing just fine. Respectfully, he lays Mitsuo's shoe right there on the ground as he makes his leave. As he and Murano are out on this little walk, she asks if something happened to him while he was out on this trip. Based on how he was before, he seems completely different now. But Shinichi's just like, nah, I only used that trip to skip school for a while. It was just a whole excuse. He's got this whole different demeanor about him, completely different than what he was at the beginning of the series. And you can't blame her for wondering what happened. She asks a question that she asks a lot this series. Quote, "Are you even Shinichi?" Instead of saying of course like he normally does, he says, "I've been asking myself the same thing recently." It's low-key a layered answer because of what Migi had told him about the 30% of Migi now being infused within his blood and possibly his brain. But obviously, Murano doesn't know all that, and he just turns around real quick saying, "Of course I'm the same. I was just kidding. It's nothing different about me. It's the same old me." Over with Kana, she's just chilling when she could feel that Shinichi's approaching. It's like she can sense it. Remember, Migi had pointed out that Kana seems to be pretty perceptive to these wavelengths that these parasites give off. And sensing Migi, she thinks that she's sensing Shinichi. But she calls out that he's about to come up the stairs and he does exactly that. But she's disappointed to see that he's with Murano. Mitsuo is jealous of her and she starting to get jealous of Murano. Later that evening, when he gets home, he walks in to see his dad alone, drinking. They have this extremely dead conversation. Shinichi knows that his pops needs to take better care of himself, but realizes that it doesn't even seem like he's willing to do so. He tells his pops that he looked online and in a situation like this, people recommend hiring a housekeeper. His pops is like, in what kind of situation? And Shinichi says, when the person who used to take care of your meals isn't around anymore. Pops can't believe that Shinichi even thought to research something like that so soon after it just happened, but cutting himself off, he knows that Shinichi's right. He tells him that if he wants to go and hire a housekeeper, then he should do so. At the end of the night, Migi is doing some research on the computer while Shinichi just wonders if something's wrong with him. For some reason, he can't cry. It feels as if he lost a piece of what made him human. The next day, while walking with Murano, Shinichi is testing some of his improved senses. His sight has been restored, he doesn't need his glasses anymore, and his hearing has increased significantly. While listening, he hears something calling for help as he runs towards the sound to see this puppy hid in the middle of the road. Migi examines it and says that it's beyond repair. It'll die within the next few minutes. Shinichi carries it to a safer location as Murano pulls him from behind. Shinichi tells her that the puppy is on the brink of death. Murano says that she was worried about Shinichi changing after his trip. Before, he was so shy and she thought that was just a part of his charm. Seeing him now, she thought that he was more sinister and cold, but seeing him care for this puppy now made her realize that she was wrong. But Shinichi wasn't reacting to anything she was saying. He just says they were too late. He tells her that it's dead, and as they get up, they both move in different directions. Murano is walking towards the grass, but Shinichi goes to the trash can and throws the body away. Murano starts freaking out, wondering what he's doing. And Shinichi's like, "What? You think the janitor's gonna be mad about it? I don't think it'll be a big problem." But Murano isn't worried about the janitor, she's worried about the puppy. She cries out that it's dead. That poor puppy is in the trash. But Shinichi's like, poor? A dead dog isn't even a dog anymore. It's just a dog-shaped lump of meat. Hearing this, Murano can't even bear to look at him. She knows that the Shinichi she knew would never say something like that. As she runs off, Shinichi wonders if he's changed. He can't tell, so he asks Migi for another opinion. But Migi confirms he said nothing wrong. From Migi's point of view, calling the dead puppy a dog-shaped lump of meat makes sense. But it is different than what he would normally say. Calling it a dog-shaped lump of meat is something that Migi would typically say, as Shinichi just says he understands. As he takes the body out of the trash, he buries it next to a tree, thinking to himself that the dog's body is going to break down into nutrients that the tree can use to continue to grow, saying that if he had done this in the first place, he wouldn't have ruined his relationship with Murano. Later that day at school, we see Shinichi waiting outside her class, but when they make eye contact, she runs off. At this point, he realizes that he just gotta give her some space. But interrupting his line of thought, Migi says one of his kind is nearby. At first, Shinichi thinks that it's Tamiya, but Migi says it doesn't seem like it's her. Migi's idea is to meet up with them in a public space. Shinichi's hesitant at first, but Migi says he doesn't sense any hostility. Even after noticing Shinichi's presence, all they've done is move towards him at a slow and steady speed. Before they really get a chance to decide what to do, the Parasyte pulls it from behind them, calling Shinichi's name. This is the dude that we saw earlier talking to Tamiya, as he asks if his name is Shinichi, and of course, he says yes. Shinichi's trying to figure out why he came to school in the first place, but before he answers, Nagai comes down asking if this is a new transfer student. Instantly, this Parasyte smacks him to the ground. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I feel bad for dude. He's constantly getting whooped on. He lost his crush. He got beat up, got punked by Shinichi, and now he just got pushed to the ground by trying to press this new transfer student. Any attempt he does at doing anything gets shut down. The guy, you might not be a cool dude, but I see you, bro. Respect, I guess. Shout out to you. This Parasyte is very monotone, saying that he's decided his name is Shimada Hideo. His first course of action is to befriend Shinichi. As the bell rings, Shimada asks him to take him over to class 3. And hearing this, Shinichi recognizes that's Murano's class. But of course, Shimada doesn't know that. Shimada just says that he and Shinichi are gonna have a joint class in their gym period, and that he'll be waiting until then. Fast forward to that gym class, and we see them running on the track, doing a little sprint. And while Shinichi is trying to hold back so that he doesn't set a world record and draw too much attention, Shimada easily runs past him, setting that record that Shinichi didn't want to set. A little bit later, we see Shimada kicking up a soccer ball as he's saying that he's grown quite fond of sports. It's helping him learn how to use his body very efficiently. Shinichi questions his real objective. Clearly, he ain't come here to be buddy-buddy. He thinks that Tamiya had sent him here in order to kill Shinichi. At first, Shimada doesn't know who he's talking about, but then realizes that she must have changed her name after switching identities. Tamiya Ryoko isn't her real name anymore. We don't know what it is, but he admits that she did send him, as we saw, but he's not here to kill Shinichi. He tells Shinichi that he doesn't plan on harming him or anybody here at the school. Matter of fact, he hasn't harmed any humans in quite a long time. He's been living on a diet similar to what humans eat. This piques Shinichi's interest, but earlier we had just seen him eating a human when he was talking to Tamiya. Clearly, he's got some ulterior motive. Maybe he's trying to get on Shinichi's good side, or at least seem like they're on good terms for whatever reason. Shinichi doesn't fully believe him, but Shimada just says that if they can figure out a way to coexist alongside humans rather than being predators, then it shouldn't be a problem, right? He just came here to relay that message to both Migi and Shinichi, since they're probably the best example of being between both parasites and humanity themselves. Migi says that he's interested in what Shimada is saying, but he only believes half of it. Migi instantly recognized Shimada's bluff, but strangely, Migi just says he wants to call it a day, demanding that Shinichi leaves. As they walk out, Shinichi's questioning him, but Migi just tells him that he has to go to sleep. They have to be real careful not to let Shimada know about this weakness, or else he might become very unpredictable. The next time we see Shinichi, he's thinking about what Shimada said, but thinking about his mom and the parasite that took over, he knows that he can't trust them. They don't care about the human race at all. They don't have emotions. They're just highly intelligent insects. Out of nowhere, Murano calls his name, but as he turns around, pissed at all the thoughts racing through his head, Murano just apologizes and walks off. Beforehand, she was thinking about Shinichi, saying that she shouldn't have called him so cold and mean and whatever. At the end of the day, even though he threw the puppy's body in the trash, which is crazy, most people wouldn't even went out there to rescue it and hold it for its final breaths in the first place. But after seeing him with a face like that, she don't know what to think. The next view we get is of Kana, and she's having this inner monologue. She claims she has a superpower. It allows her to sense her soulmate. She can feel Shinichi approaching, so she turns the corner and preemptively says hi, but it's Shimada instead. She's like, oh, that's weird. I could have sworn it was gonna be Shinichi. But hearing his name, Shimada's like, oh, why are you bringing him up? She's trying to back off, but he continues to press her as he takes her hand, starting to pull her off to the side, saying that he just wants to have a little chat. She's struggling to get free, but Shinichi saves the day, interrupting him, asking what he's doing. He tells Shimada that if anything happens to anybody here, he's gonna kill him. Shimada, not wanting any smoke with Shinichi, just walks off. But as he's leaving, he's perceptive of the weak signal coming from Shinichi's hand. Kinda thanks him for rescuing her, but walking behind is Murano. And instantly, Kana asks if Shinichi can take her to the train station. She doesn't want to run into that guy again. Being the good guy that he is, Shinichi's like, yeah, why not? But as they turn around, they of course see Murano. Seeing the two of them, she just walks off, and Shinichi can't believe the timing. It's some weird dynamic between the three of them. I don't know if it's a love triangle or what. I don't even know how you call it. As they're walking, Kana tells Shinichi about her superpower, saying that it lets her know whenever Shinichi's nearby, but he tries to explain that it might be her sensing these strange wavelengths from these very dangerous people, but Kana isn't so sure. Later in the evening, looking at a poster of this model, Shimada just thinks to himself, I'll use this face as bait for today. He shapeshifts into that exact same face. As looking around, he picks his target. Walking up to this girl, he kindly asks her if she needs any help, as she responds real nervously. Elsewhere, thinking about Shimada, is Tachikawa. She's drawing him, as we find out that she's developed some type of crush on him. Though back in this deserted construction lot, we see Shimada finishing the girl off and transforming right back into his regular self. Of course, that comment about coexisting with humans and not needing to eat them anymore was 100% a lie. The next day, out on the street, Kana senses Shimada again. As they make eye contact, she starts to run, but bumps into Mitsuo. Seeing this dude staring, Mitsuo instantly wants to pick a fight. Kana tries to stop him, but Mitsuo completely ignores her. He's taking him to some place where they could fight when Tachikawa sees the two of them, and since he has this crush on Shimada, she's interested. As they make it to the bathroom, Shimada utterly destroys his man Mitsuo. He says he really went easy on him in order to avoid causing too much trouble, but he tells him that if he tries to fight him again, he won't go down as easily. As Shimada walks out, he notices Tachikawa watching him, but she gets nervous and hides instantly. We get a flashback from years ago, showing Shinichi and Murano meeting for the very first time. They were checking their grades for their high school entrance exam, where their friendship began. Now, Shinichi's standing in front of that exact same poster board, just reminiscing. Behind him, he hears Murano, and when they make eye contact, she just walks off. Watching from afar is Shimada, who still doesn't understand why Shinichi's right hand signal is so weak. He decides to give him a little test, sending out this wave of hostility that he should be on alert for, but Shinichi doesn't react. In Tachikawa's class, one of her friends is teasing her about her crush on Shimada and starts talking about how handsome and perfect he is. According to her, almost a little too perfect. His face seems as if it was fake. Never even considering that before, the idea of Shimada having a fake face just sits on Tachikawa's mind. Shinichi's dad is talking about these monsters to the police once again. He wants to go public, but they're hesitant because they know they'd cause public fear, and if they don't have any credible information, everybody would suspect everybody and it'd just be no good. The man apologizes about his wife, but says that going public just isn't an option right now. And the sketch artist finally finishes drawing what Shinichi had explained, as he says, this is exactly it. Seeing that monster that could morph into anything, they truly don't know how to react. Tamiya Ryoko is having a conversation with this mysterious man about the future of their species. They're well aware that humans are starting to catch on, as she realizes how weak they are as a collective. She asks this guy, who we never got an introduction to, what's the purpose of our existence? As the man confidently says humans have become toxic to the earth, and the parasites are the neutralizers. And Tamiya, knowing that she's growing and nurturing a human inside of her, just holds her stomach. Back at Shinichi's place, he finally has a conversation with his pops about what happened to his mom. But it's more of his dad just talking while Shinichi listens intently, not saying a thing. Of course, Shinichi never mentions anything about Migi. He couldn't if he tried. Towards the end of their conversation, his dad tells him for the very first time that Shinichi's mom is dead. This might be a little bit of a stretch, but seeing this scene, I can't help but think that there's some meaning behind the design on the back of his shirt. Maybe it's just a design I'm not familiar with, but the road being split into two different paths almost signifies Shinichi's existence as half man, half parasite, somewhere stuck in the middle. Him choosing to keep Migi a secret and being infected by Migi at the same time takes away a little bit of his humanity. Migi is even fused into his bloodstream, so literally he's not 100% human. But at the same time, he's not a full parasite. He doesn't eat humans and he wants the best for humanity, but he also wants the best for himself, which, once again, isn't fully a human. Could be a crazy stretch, could not be. I literally just noticed it. Over at Tachikawa's house, she's looking at a sketch. Her brother was the sketch artist from that police interview earlier, as she's wondering what it even is. But he grabs it, saying that it's for an ongoing investigation. She doesn't show that much more interest. She just shows him the drawing that she made of Shimada, and he's pretty impressed with her work. She asks him if he can tell anything about the person in there because he does this for a living, but he can't tell anything about somebody just from a drawing. It don't work like that. But Tachikawa had to at least try. The next day at school, Tachikawa runs into Shimada again. He's standing alone when suddenly a stray baseball flies in and hits him in the head, deforming a whole part of his skull. But as he raises his hand, the baseball player runs up asking if he's alright, and Shimada's like, yeah, I'm all good. And when he removes it, his wound has completely restored. The baseball player didn't even notice it, but Tachikawa, watching the whole time, realizes that Shimada does indeed have a fake face. Posted up by the stairs, Shinichi decided that today is the day to make amends with Murano. When she walks by, he apologizes for what she saw the other day with him and Kana, as he tells her that Kana was just messing around. But before he can even continue to explain and really get into a conversation, Migi interrupts, saying that they've got a problem. He can sense hostility from Shimada and about 4 or 5 other humans around him. If he lets this go on, it'll be a massacre. Shinichi is frozen and Murano's getting worried, but he just starts running over there. Shimada, being ganged up on by all these people, is taken to this empty lot, where he tells them all to keep it quick. A nuisance is on the way. He wants to fight all of them at the same time. But before they start fighting, Shinichi jumps over the wall. Shimada can't believe that he really just jumped that high and wonders if Migi had helped him. He can't tell. But Shinichi presses Shimada, telling him that he's starting to show his true colors. But Shimada explains that he's the victim in the situation. They all came trying to pick a fight with him. Shinichi just tells Shimada to get out of here. And without a problem, he does. Everybody else starts getting mad because Shinichi stepped in thinking that he hot stuff, whatever. It's real similar to when Shinichi had ran into Mitsuo and Kana in the very first place, but the context is completely different. He just tells them all to never go after Shimada ever again. Looking at the dude in the very back, he says, "You're the leader here, aren't you? Do you hear me?" They're shocked because this dude, named Yano, has been sitting discreetly in the back the entire time. Shinichi had never met him and nobody told him that he was the leader. Yano just walks up to press him, but Shinichi just grabs his punch, staring deep into his eyes and just lightly squeezes, and Yano pulls away in fear. He knows that even if they all try to fight Shinichi, they'd instantly lose. Mitsuo has taken nothing but L's, and this is another one. Him and his gang done took a L too. Of course, he's pissed off, but they all make their leave. Finally, Shinichi returns to go see Murano, waiting at the school entrance with his backpack that he had left. As she hands it over, he places his hands on top of hers, thanking her, but suddenly pulls her to his side. Of course, it's Shimada. He's asking what Shinichi did to them, sure that he used his right hand to beat him down. But Shinichi is getting defensive and is getting angry, telling him to get the hell out of here. Calmly, without causing any more problems, Shimada just left. But out of frustration, Shinichi had been squeezing Murano's hand too hard. Not realizing what he was doing, he obviously lets go. And she's asking him if something happened between the two of them. But Shinichi is just getting hot thinking about it, calling Shimada a piece of shit. Murano is getting concerned because this isn't Shinichi. The Shinichi she knows would never talk like that. She turns away from him, saying that Shinichi seems like he's trying to be a different person, but he's fighting back on it, saying that he's not trying hard at all. He just is being him. She asks the golden question once again, "Are you even Shinichi?" But this time, it's layered with everything that's been happening to him internally, with Migi fusing with him and all the things that he's been through over this past week or two. Shinichi doesn't play it cool like he did before. He just screams, telling her to shut up. Murano just apologizes and runs off. That evening, Tachikawa is stalking Shimada in order to get a clear picture of what's really going on. She knows what she saw earlier, but just doesn't understand it. She's watching him walk into the bathroom and walk out with different clothes on. Then he goes into this alleyway and changes faces right in front of her. I got no clue why he didn't just do it in the bathroom when he had changed clothes. That would have been way more discreet. She never would have noticed, but I'm guessing he's not the brightest out of the bunch. Of course, Tachikawa saw it clear as day. And later that night, as Tachikawa is thinking about it, she begins to put 2 and 2 together. She's asking her big brother about that sketch that she saw earlier, and although it's confidential, he gives her some basic info. He's telling her about these people who supposedly can shapeshift. They can morph into whatever they want, they speak human language, and worst of all, they feed on humans. He warns her to be careful, but since the shapeshifters are so rare and they barely have any found cases of it, he doesn't think that she'll ever find one. Not wanting to worry her big brother, Tachikawa's like, probably not, right? Never. But alone in her room, she's starting to believe that Shimada is one of them. She wants to tell her brother, but at the same time doesn't want to be wrong and pin all the blame on somebody who's innocent. I don't know how she could think he's innocent after seeing him change faces physically in person with her own 2 eyeballs. But at the end of the day, she's just a high schooler. I don't know. She don't know what's going on. Instead of just thinking about it all day and night, she decides to confront Shimada. The next day, she goes to the art room and is looking through things to possibly defend herself just in case something happens. She doesn't want anything too obvious as she doesn't want him to be on edge, so she grabs a jar of chemicals. Once she calls him over, Shimada pulls up and Tachikawa gives a little bit of her backstory. She knows that he's probably never noticed her before, but she thought he was a pretty cool guy. As they would be in class and around school, she always kept her eye on him, and eventually she saw him. Bringing up these rumors of these monsters who shapeshift and eat people, she says that she doesn't want him to be any different than anybody else. But if he is one of those monsters, she wouldn't know what to think. Hearing this, Shimada's eyes widen, and Tachikawa just says, "If you're one of those monsters, I want you to leave and never hurt anybody else ever again." This was a crazy plan for her to come with. Shout out Tachikawa, but I don't think she thought this one fully through. Just telling him to leave and never hurt nobody else ever again, how would that ever work? In what world would that work? But after she says that, Shimada just asks her if she's told anybody else about it. She starts getting worried because he's not denying it, and Shimada's face has lost all sanity at this point, saying that this is no good. It's no good. Veins begin showing all over his face as looking in his eyes, he looked crazy. Slowly, his face opens up as Tachikawa can't believe what she's seeing. Split into multiple pieces with 5 different eyeballs and a blade swinging in front of him, Shimada is ready to kill her.